Time for another episode of The Pitch. We're pitching a brand new idea for Resident Evil. Let's discuss it. What's up, Universe, and welcome back to the web's first must-see comic and nerd culture show. Welcome to Comic Universe, guys. I'm your host, as always, CDubbs, and I'm riding solo on this video, guys. And welcome back to another episode of The Pitch. This is where we here at Comic Universe pitch an idea or concept out there in hopes that somehow, some way, it gets pitched out into existence. Whether it be comic book, movie, video game, toys, TV show, coloring book, whatever. This is where we look out to the universe in hopes that we can get this spread out to as many places as possible if you like this idea. And today's idea is not quite an original one, but one that I've just thought so much more on that I think it needs to be a real thing. And that is a Netflix series based in the universe or on Resident Evil. Now, the film franchise has done what it's done. It supposedly it is over. There's supposedly talks of a reboot. I don't know. I don't care. I don't think the movie is the way to go. First and foremost, video game movies, 99.99999999999% of them suck, okay? And there's just not enough time given to any specific movie to have enough growth for some of these characters and such complex creatures, if you will. They're more than just zombies, but that's where the franchise needs to start. It needs to be based in the lore. It needs to be based in, you know, the heart of what made Resident Evil. And you can expand over time, if you will, and if it's given to some place like Netflix, if you will, if Netflix could find a way to license out this idea, they have the time that they're able to dedicate, let's say, 13 episodes, seasons, if you will, even 8-episode seasons. And over time, we could explore different avenues and different myths and lores. You could have, season 1 just dealing with, out in the wilderness, Bravo team running around, if you will, trying to survive, trying to get to the mansion. Season 2, in the mansion. Season 3, we could have Resident Evil Outbreak, just the survivors in the city, if you will. And Jill, running away from the nemesis, if you will. Then you got your Code Veronica. Like, you could literally, each season could be taking place in its perspective video game, if you will. Or you could just tell original stories. You could have Resident Evil Stars, or Resident Evil Raccoon City, Resident Evil Biohazard, whatever the tagline you want. And you could even get your own original characters in there and just build the lore as long as you're true and faithful to the source material and you stay within these parameters. You don't need to create a superhero with telekinesis and all this jazz. That is what it is. If you're a fan of those franchises, awesome. I'm happy for you. But that's not Resident Evil, man. It just isn't. It needs to be survival horror. And you could have it out in the wilderness and trying to survive the first season and eventually make your way to the Las Plagas, if you will, and all that other crazy wildness, but slowly building your way to it. Seeing how the virus strands and whatnot are all evolving and all the different doctors and their inputs have changed this virus and created multiple different viruses over so many seasons, if you will. You could just do it and make it believable, make it awesome, and you could start, honestly, you could start off with Resident Evil 1 and just kind of go from there. And if you do something like Stars, you could just have the Stars Bravo team or Alpha or Delta or whatever version, if you want, team, and you could just have original cast members, original people dealing with original creatures, if you will. And it doesn't have to be a show that breaks the bank in terms of its budget. You could simply just have special effects, practical effects, if you will, for your zombies starting off and your dogs and whatnot. And it just would be so awesome. You could do some really cool cinematography. Let's say you're a hiker out in the woods, or you're a biker out in the woods, if you will, and you have your little GoPro. You could have some first-person perspectives of trying to survive a zombie outbreak out in the wilderness with the wildlife coming after you and whatnot. There's so many different things and techniques that you could just implement in each episode that's going to give any director or actor the influence to want to be able to express themselves and do some really creative ideas. This is just an idea that could just go in so many ways and could be golden. It could turn into the standard, the modern standard for zombie films, if you will. And yes, it does eventually evolve into something more than just zombies, but since Romero and Dawn of the, and even maybe the reboot of Dawn of the Dead, okay, was the last really great zombie thing we got. Walking Dead, yes, that is really great. It's still going. It has lost some fans over the years, and it is fantastic. But Resident Evil can come in and make a mark, and just do something like really gruesome and really gory and really scary, and just really show the survival elements of dealing with a zombie outbreak, and eventually dealing with the corrupt government and corrupt corporation, like with Umbrella, the espionage that could be involved in this. Like, there's so many avenues. I myself have never seen like a horror espionage movie, okay, but we could get elements of that in a Resident Evil. There's even some times where something can be a little comedic, where you can we've seen zombie comedies already. We know it can be done. It can be done well with Shaun of the Dead. You can get, an episode or two, or crack a joke or a smile, here and there. It doesn't have to be always dark and brooding, but there's just so many avenues you can do. Again, just Resident Evil outright, if you will, or you could have Resident Evil Outbreak, okay? And then Resident Evil Survivor, I know that's not it's somewhat of a curse word in the Resident Evil world, the first person shooters, if you were, that were on rails, but it's a character that never got a lot of shine or never really was evolved all that well in the video games, that in the actual, story of a season, if you will, you could shed some light and make it really interesting. And since it's not so well known or liked in the realm of the games, in the world of the game, you have a little more freedom and leeway that you could do some original ideas. And I think it would be really, us Resident Evil fans have been clamoring and wanting something so much. Okay, just look at the hype train that's on Resident Evil 2 right now. Now is the time to strike while the iron is hot. Resident Evil 7, bam, success. Remake of Resident Evil 2, bam, success. And the second that game comes out, everyone's going to be like, oh, we need now Resident Evil 3 Nemesis and Code Veronica, and we're just going to keep wanting and wanting and wanting. So why not reboot the cinematic franchise, but in terms of Netflix original series? This is the time to get it done, universe. We need to speak this into existence. I can't be the only one that thinks this is an amazing idea. And this, again, like, and then after the Survivor, you could do, all kinds of, you can make your way eventually into the Bayou and deal with the Baker family, if you will, eventually getting to that point. And then you add this whole element of body horror and torture horror, okay, into the series that didn't have it in the beginning. And it could just be this ever evolving, to that point, and just, you can have elements of Texas Chainsaw Massacre in there, like the game really did have. And it just, the evolution of the show is what's going to make it so entertaining. Where I'm a fan of The Walking Dead, but how many times do you find yourself surrounded by other survivors who are bad and who are more the bad guy than the damn zombies? They keep finding themselves in a lot of the same situations over and over and over again, where each season could be different and be dealing with a different cast, and then eventually you could bring back in the old cast or revert back and see what they were doing during this time, and you can it could be so great. It could be what the early 2000s were for TV, with your Lost and your Heroes and Supernaturals. When those shows first came out, they were the talk of the water cooler. And then in your late 2000s with your Breaking Bads and Walking Deads, this could be a show like that. Again, with every season kind of having a different flair. And, Resident Evil, the games evolved from, survival horror to more of like action, back now into a first-person shooter type of style. You could have all of those elements, and in it, you could have individual episodes that feel different, that will speak to different people. Some person may like the rotin' gun-wielding, blasting zombie heads, and then the others will like the methodical zombies, just body horror. And then again, the Bakers with, just he can't die. His Jason Voorhees-esque style of just keep coming after you. And then his wife with the insects and just controlling bugs. And it could just go on, and each season or even each episode could feel like such a different thing. And I just wish that this could be something for real. And hell, I would be the one to do it if I could, but I can't, and I'm not. So let's make this happen, universe. If you like this idea, let's make this happen. Share this video. Let's talk about what if and what could be, and maybe someday we'll get lucky. And, you know, some exec up in Netflix will say, that's a great idea. Let's make that happen. And also, guys, if you have other ideas to add to this, or even if you don't like this idea and you have a better idea for a pitch for the Resident Evil franchise, let us know in the comments below, guys. If you do like this pitch, guys, smack that like button right across the face like you freaking mean it. Share this video with all of your friends on social media. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel. Thanks for sticking around. We do all kinds of videos within nerd culture. This just happens to be one of them. Check out some of our other videos. You might like what you see. And we'll be in the comment section for a little while, guys, so feel free. If you have any constructive criticism, it's always welcome. And guys, until next time, I'm CDubbs, and I'll see you in the universe. Peace.